Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, the world's greatest redneck, and today we're going to do drilling lines on an angle, and that's one of the functions of the DRO. One of the functions I rarely ever have thought about needing to use. Now, I was desperate enough to use it the other day when I was making a bracket for a project that you guys will see later. I did it the hard way. I drilled the holes in the little bracket in a line at an angle, and then I took the little bracket off and put a mini pallet on the milling machine and set it there with the line straight with a y-axis. Then I run the end mill up and down between the the holes that I drilled. I could have just put the little bracket up there and done the whole thing with the end mill in the first place, but I wouldn't have got to play with the line function. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to play with that. Depending on what manual you're looking at, it's the oblique line function or line hole function or whatever. But this little illustration here shows if I wanted to drill a series of holes on a 30-degree angle. Okay? Now the function is so that you can drill the holes at whatever space you want and keep them in a straight line. So we'll go over to the DRO and we'll set the little booger up and we'll see what we get. Like all the DRO functions, they're listed on the front here in various little spots. You pick out the oblique line function or the line hole function, whatever you're going to call it. And you come up and do it with an XY line. So if you want to know the length, well, I'm going to make it 1.0 inches long. Alright, now the next thing, the angle. So the angle, we're going to make it 180 degrees. And we're going to go back and do other angles too, just for the heck of it, to see which way they go and how it works out. 180 degrees. They want to know how many holes. I'm going to drill what? 3 holes. That ought to be enough. After all, we're just playing with it, right? So hole number 1 is going to be at 0, 0. We're already at. So let's change the camera where you can see what I'm doing. Alright, that black circle in the middle, that's 0, 0. And I picked it there so that I can do some other fancier stuff with the angles. So it says drill that hole, which there's really a hole there already. We'll go to hole number 2, and what happens at hole number 2, let me show you that. At hole number 2, I need to run that down to 0 on the x-axis. Okay, so wrong way. I pretty much always go the wrong way. Alright, we're at 0. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to drill a hole at 0. I say at 0. It's at the new 0. How's that? And there's a hole. Now we'll go on to hole number 3. I'll let you guys see me go do hole. Alright, so we're at hole 2. And we want to go to hole number 3. Push the little up arrow. It says 3. Now we've got to take the x-axis back to 0 again. And as usual, I started off in the wrong direction. And I went right past 0, didn't I? I do that a lot. Those are pretty fine graduation. It's hard to get dead on the exact 0. Now then we'll go back to the hole. Alright, we'll drill this little hole. So that's a 180 degree angle. So that means that 0 is over here and 180 is over here. Could be. Let's see what happens when we do a minus 180. Hang on. Alright, so we're already at hole number 1 because it's right there in the middle. So let's go to hole number 2. I'll hit the up arrow and it brings us to new coordinates, which means this time I am turning in the right direction. And believe it or not, minus 180, you wind up in the same place as you would with plus 180. No use doing minus. Okay, we're going to do a 90-degree angle, and we're starting off on hole number 1 every time because that's already zeros right in the middle of the board there. So at number 2, I have to move this little guy right here. He almost touches the tripod. Wasn't very careful where I said it, was I? Alright, let me get right to 0. Alright, there's 0. Alright, that's hole number 2. We're going to do number 3. So I have to move this guy once again. Alright, so as you can see, what I'm doing so far are right angles. Let's get creative and do something else. And we know hole number 1's right in the middle, so we're going to do a 45-degree angle, and I've already set it for hole 2, but I haven't moved the table. So in this instance, I have to move both X and Y. We move the Y back. And I move the X. Alright, now my DRO reads 0, 0. Put the hole in here. Move on to hole 3. Alright, so we've got to move both axes again. There's the Y axis on 0. There's the X axis on 0. So, what we've got here, 180, 90, 45, not bad, huh? All right. So let's get creative and go, say, 3 times 45 for an angle. Hang on and I'll set it up. Okay, so 3 times 45 is 135. So we're going to cut it on a 135 angle. And as usual, hole 1 was in the middle, so I'm starting on hole 2. Now we'll move on with the machinery, and when you're doing this, you've got to move both axes when you're doing an angle that's not a right angle, which makes sense, I guess. Alright, now we'll do hole number 3. Not bad, is it? So what if we wanted to do 230? That's probably not a right angle of any kind, 230 degrees. We'll set that up. Okay, 230 degrees. So I'm going to move this Y about 300 something thousandths. And it's, for some reason, it's harder for me to hit 0 with a Y because I go too fast. Even going fast, I can do the X faster. All right. Hole 2. Move on to hole 3. Another 300 thousandths move. Well, I got 0 real easy that time. Now we'll do hole number 3. Now we could have drilled long lines, and those lines aren't crooked, just my drawing on there is crooked. My hand's not that steady. Remember, I'm 75. But anyway, we got to play with the oblique line function, or the line angle function, whatever you want to call it. It'd be so nice if I needed to do this in a real project, wouldn't it? Ordinarily, I print out DRO manuals on the printer, and I bring them out here, and I never see them again. But today, we saw 3 different DRO manuals laying in the same spot. I just got lucky and figured out where they were. I showed you 2 of them. So let's go see what Bubba's doing. But before we go, if one of you guys got something that needs to be machined, you can go to your local machine shop and pay probably $90 an hour or something like that. Or you can have the redneck do it. Think about it. The redneck can do it for 0 money, and you just furnish the material and the postage. It's an offer. But it seems like a lot of Bubba's family had gone to a funeral, and after the funerals, there's Bubba and some of his uncles standing around looking at the tombstones. Somebody brought up the idea as to, well, what would you like to have folks say about you after you're gone? And Uncle Irving says, well, he says, I'd sure like for him to say I was a good husband and a good father and just a regular nice guy. And Uncle Willie says, well, he says, I'd like to say I was a great teacher and made a big difference in a whole bunch of people's lives. And they look around at Bubba, and Bubba says, well, he says, I tell you what, he says, what I'd like to hear him say is, look, he's moving. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.